everyone, my name is Emma Radeka and I'm with the Metta Earth Institute, and today I'm spending some time with this lovely plant, the Staghorn Sumac, or Rhus typhina in Latin. This plant is in the Anacardiaceae family, which is the same family as cashews, mangoes, pistachios, and poison ivy. But don't worry, this plant is not poisonous. And you may have heard of a plant called poison sumac, which is in the same family as the Staghorn Sumac, but poison sumac looks quite different, so it's pretty unlikely that you would confuse these two plants, especially because of these super distinct fruits, these collections of red, dark red, very yummy berries on the Staghorn Sumac that is not present on the poison sumac, as well as the fact that poison sumac leaves are smooth, they don't have this serration, and the bark on poison sumac is smooth and not hairy like the Staghorn Sumac. Poison sumac also has white droopy berries, whereas these are the berries on the Staghorn Sumac. So pretty easy to tell them apart, and we'll go over some plant identification tips for the Staghorn Sumac today so you can be sure to find it to make some yummy Sumac Aid, or a lemonade type sumac drink made from these delicious lemony berries. And although Staghorn Sumac is in the same family as poison sumac, poison ivy, and poison oak, the Staghorn Sumac lacks the itchiness and irritation causing oils that are present in all of those other plants. So that's why it tends to not cause irritation in humans. However, do bear in mind that if you have any sensitivities to any other foods or plants in the Anacardiaceae family, like mangoes, pistachios, cashews, or anything like that, you may want to use caution when working with this plant, and maybe if it's just a little sensitivity, try a little bit of the fruit at first, and if it's a full-blown allergy to any of those foods, maybe just avoid eating this fruit and instead just admire its beauty. Staghorn sumac is widespread throughout eastern North America and also found in many other temperate regions of the world. It's often found on roadsides, forest edges, banks of rivers and streams, and other full sun areas because it's really not very shade tolerant. It likes full sun exposure, and it can only tolerate a little bit of shade. So these Staghorn sumacs here are all growing on the edge of my yard because they get full sun exposure here, and this one actually has fallen over. This one was up back there, but it fell over recently. And you can see here it has some oriental bittersweet wrapped around it. This vine here, Celastris orbiculatus, which is wrapped all around this entire tree, and I wonder if that had anything to do with it falling over. So let's go over some distinguishing characteristics of the Staghorn Sumac so that we know how to properly identify it. It can be shrubby and short, but it can also grow to heights of 15 to 30 feet, as I imagine this one was before it fell. So sometimes it looks more like a small tree. Staghorn sumacs often grow in colonies, with the older trees making up the center and the younger trees making up the outsides. Staghorn sumacs spread very quickly by sending up suckers from their extensive root systems. The Staghorn sumac has compound leaves, meaning that this entire thing is one leaf. And it's made up of individual leaflets, like these. This is a leaflet, not a leaf. So the leaf starts here. Staghorn sumac leaves are serrate, meaning they have little teeth on the edges, as you can see here. They're also lanceolate, meaning that they're very long and skinny and come to a sharp point, as you can see here. And they're a deep shiny green above, with a paler, almost white green below. These leaves turn a gorgeous, vibrant red in the fall. You can even see a few of them here starting to turn orange. Perhaps one of the most distinct characteristics about the Staghorn sumac is that it's super fuzzy. Their bark, branches, and buds are covered in soft brown fibers that create a velvety texture, kind of like newly grown deer antlers, hence the staghorn name. The plant is dioecious, meaning it has separate female and male plants. Only the female plants produce these fruits. Before the fruits, they produce yellow-green flowers that then turn into these fuzzy, red, upright, pyramid-shaped berry clusters. Honeybees enjoy their flowers, which bloom in May to June, and birds such as the eastern phoebe, northern mockingbird, hermit thrush, and eastern bluebird love their berries, which hang on throughout most of the winter. Humans have also enjoyed their berries for centuries. These fruits usually ripen in late July to August, and you'll know because they'll be a deep, dark red like this. To check if they're ripe, you can take a little nibble. It should taste tangy and lemony. For this reason, it's been made into a lemonade-esque drink, sometimes called Sumac Aid, by Indigenous Americans for years and years. Chippewa also used it as medicine to soothe stomach pain, and Cahokian First Nations people are also believed to have stewarded the plants for medicinal and agricultural use. Staghorn sumac berries are very high in vitamin C and gallic acids, making them a potent immune-supporting and antimicrobial herb. It also contains antioxidants via its bioflavonoids, giving it this rich red color, which provides cellular protection and act as an anti-inflammatory. The berries have a cooling action, and the slight tannin content in the fruit, which has historically been useful in creating a vivid red dye, provides an astringent, draining action in the body. This makes the plant really useful in addressing common issues with diabetes, including fluid retention and insulin resistance. This astringency also helps to tone mucous membranes, such as the sinuses, respiratory tract, and GI tract, making them less susceptible to potential bacterial, viral, and other pathogens. Staghorn sumac berries are also commonly used as a food source in the Middle East, well known for their use in the spice blend Zatar, which is commonly used in the East Mediterranean as a rub on meats and vegetables, and also features herbs such as oregano, thyme, and coriander. In Egypt, the plant is sometimes used in a spice blend called suka. So today, I'll be making an infusion, a water infusion of the Staghorn sumac berries. Some people call this Sumac Aid because it's similar to lemonade, since the vitamin C content of the plant gives it such a lemony taste. And so before I harvest, when harvesting any plant, there are a few things to take into consideration. First of all, be sure to only harvest from locations that haven't been treated with synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, or any other chemicals. And although Staghorn sumacs are prevalent on roadsides, avoid harvesting from within about 40 feet of any roadside, as chemicals from the roads really easily leach into the ground in these areas and can be consumed via the plants. Also, if you're harvesting on any land other than your own property, be sure to have the landowner's permission to do so. Foraging or wildcrafting is usually allowed in many public places and state parks and things like that, but be sure to look into the rules and regulations before doing so. Before I harvest any plant, I like to introduce myself and attune to my surroundings. This is just a nice thing to do when interacting with any plant. As we go asking to take their lives, it's sort of a respectful practice to introduce ourselves and just interact with them and build a relationship with them before doing so. So I like to just tune into my immediate surroundings with my immediate senses like sight, sound, touch, smell. And as I tune into those senses that I can tangibly sense, then I like to extend that attunement to the factors that I can't see or hear, but I can feel, such as the presence of other beings under the soil, in the sky, in the environment that surrounds me, perhaps other beings. And one of the most important parts of this practice for me is then asking for the plant's permission to harvest. And usually I do this by, of course, introducing myself, explaining what purpose I have in harvesting, and the medicine that I plan on making with what I harvest, and who I plan on giving that to heal. And then I wait for a response. Sometimes it's loud and clear, and it's obvious that it's a yes, and in that case, I proceed to harvest. If it doesn't quite feel like a yes, then I wait and I come back another day and perhaps just keep on building a relationship with the plant and not have any expectation of harvesting it. It's a little weird at first sometimes to ask for the plant's permission and try to feel its answer, but with a little bit of practice, it starts to become easier to hear the answer. One of the most important parts of this practice is giving out gratitude to the plant for giving its life, or some of its medicine to us. And usually I do this by just sending out my thoughts of gratitude to the plant or speaking them to the plant. You can also do this by leaving a gift in return, such as a strand of your hair or a little token of your appreciation. This is also one of the guiding principles of the honorable harvest, which is laid out in beautiful detail in Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, Braiding Sweetgrass. Another factor to consider before harvesting Staghorn Sumac is whether or not it has rained recently, as rain usually strips away some of the flavor, potency, and medicinal components of the fruit. So it's best to get this plant before it rains, and right when it turns ripe. So I'll just want to harvest the whole fruit. So I'll use my knife and just go ahead and cut it off carefully. And there it is. And I'd like to make enough for my family, so I'll probably harvest 1 or 2 more. Now that I've harvested my Staghorn Sumac, I'll place my Staghorn Sumac fruits into a pot or a pitcher, and I'll fill it with water just over the tops of them. As you can see in this video, I used a little bit too much water for those 3, so I went back and harvested a few more fruits to add to it. So if you put it in a pitcher, fill it up pretty much to the top with the fruits, and then just add water just over the tops of the fruits, so it's a little higher of a fruit to water ratio. Then, as you can see me doing in this video, go ahead and crush up the fruit clusters so that you expose more of the surface area of the fruit to the water. This allows more of the medicine and the flavor to come through in your Sumac Aid. Once you have your Staghorn Sumac fruits all crushed up, you can go ahead and close up the pot or pitcher and put it in the fridge. For the deepest, richest flavor and medicinal content, leave it overnight, but if you can't wait that long, an hour or 2 is totally fine too. Once you've waited overnight, or a few hours, or a few minutes, it's time to strain out your Sumac Aid. So many people will recommend using cheesecloth to strain through, but I didn't have any on hand, so I just used a little double strainer method, 2 strainers, and that definitely did the trick. So use whatever you have to strain out all of that plant matter and just get the yummy liquid in your bowl. Then you can use your hands or a spoon to squeeze out all of that plant material that's in either your cheesecloth or your strainer, just to get all of that extra juicy medicine in your Sumac Aid. Enjoy it as is, over ice, or with some seltzer water to make your own spritzer.